Hello everyone, it's Silvia. Welcome back to my channel. I'm very sad today because as you noticed there's a few things here and I had to change my filming set because I wanted to create a sanctuary. So yesterday, almost exactly 24 hours ago, we had to say goodbye to my 15-year-old cat Missy. In the last couple of days, she had let me know very clearly that she was okay to go. She was ready to say goodbye, and she had been fighting for 6 weeks, and we had been fighting with her, doing everything we could, um, all the possible tests under the sun. We spent close to $10,000 Australian in trying to figure out what her illness was, but unfortunately, we always came up empty. And there is something to say about the knowledge of vets in Australia for what concerns cats. Unfortunately, I was confirmed a couple of times that there is a lot more attention to, when it comes to domestic animals, there is a lot more attention and special, special schools or trainings to be done for dogs. And that doesn't mean that there is not as much compassion. As a matter of fact, apart from one person, all the other vets we met, which is a total of five different vets, they were all extremely lovely, very compassionate, very kind, very understanding, very knowledgeable when it comes to the grief of a fur parent going through something like this. And so my heart goes to everyone who's been supporting us, all of you guys as well. You've been wonderful in the last 6 weeks. You've been sending me so many emails of encouragement, so many comments on my videos, so many comments on Instagram and Facebook as well, and phone calls and vocal messages, those of you who know me and closer to me. We have felt the love of the community. Many of you have actively helped us go through this with sending Reiki and good thoughts, and it was absolutely amazing. And I really, really thank you all. You have all of my love and gratitude from myself, my husband, my other cat Chicho, and Missy herself. For the last couple of days, she was literally ready to go. And there's a number of things that tell you that. Her face changed, the physiognomy of her face changed. She was actually in pain to the point that I had to give her anti-pain medications. And it was a clear sign. Ironically, she never stopped eating. She decreased the amount that she was eating, but even an hour before the vet came to our place to give her the final injection, she still had a treat out of my hand. As a matter of fact, she tried to snap my finger off when she was biting the treat. So it was a testament to how much she tried and how hard she's been fighting. And we will never forget her. I know that this is obviously a video that is costing me a ton to film because it is extremely painful and the pain is still very raw. But I know so many of us that have been going through this. They have lost a fur baby in the past 12 months, that I thought that maybe making this public would help someone. And even if it's just one person, that would be enough for me to go through the pain of doing this. Because there's one thing that is extremely important for me to say. When we lose someone we love, and yes, someone can also be a fur baby, one thing to reflect on, one thing that really helps us, and I'm talking about this in my videos for my Starlight members, because ironically, we've actually done a tarot roadmap to processing grief and loss, and we just literally just finished it. And the takeaway from that is that in order to honor them, we need to find within ourselves the traits of our personality that have changed thanks to their presence in our life. And we need to honor them by recognizing these things and perpetuate them. And so Missy was a difficult cat. She was a difficult cat. Why? Because we rescued her from the street. We did not even know specifically when she was born, but we rescued her, and the vet estimated that she was only 6-7 weeks old. She was fitting on the palm of my husband's hand, and she literally latched on to us, and she never let go. And we were not too keen, I have to be honest, we were not too keen on keeping a cat from the street that we rescue from the street. We thought about taking her to, there are places in New South Wales, in Sydney, where you can take them. If you find a stray cat, you can actually take them to these places and they will find them a home. But she latched on to, especially to my husband, so hard. And she was literally saying, "You're my mom and dad. Deal with it. Get over it. Just don't take me anywhere else because I'm where I'm supposed to be." And so we just obliged. She didn't really leave any kind of choice. By the way, I would have filmed this facing the video, facing the camera, but my face these days is not camera ready. My eyes are, they look terrible. So apologies if I'm just showing my hands, but it's also because I wanted to show you a couple of things here. So what I've got here is very symbolic. Every single one of these objects is very symbolic. And I wanted to talk about this because the reason why I'm doing this video is not just to show you the decks that I go to whenever I'm grieving, whenever I'm thinking about the Rainbow Bridge, but it's also because there's a couple of things that pertain to rituals of grieving. Grieving is something that I'm afraid in today's society is something that feels very private. And if you feel like you have to grieve in private, by all means do so. However, I want to go back to my origin in Italy. Grieving is a public affair. Grieving, and especially when you grieve during a funeral, grieving is for wailing. Grieving is for weeping. Grieving is for rejecting what happened and saying that it is not fair, and screaming that to the world and saying, this is not fair. It is not fair that I have to say goodbye to a beautiful cat that I loved so much for so long. It's not fair that we tried everything and we still failed. It's not fair that I tried any kind of relaxation technique that I've heard of. It's not fair that I spent night after night after night searching through the internet to try and understand what she had, because 5 vets had absolutely no idea. Thousands and thousands of dollars of tests later, we had absolutely no idea what was killing her from the inside. And it's not fair because she was a lovely cat, very vocal, always very vocal, always waking me up, and always being responding whenever you called her. She will answer back. She was greeting me when I was coming home. It's not fair. And so in Italy, we scream that. We say that to the community, to everyone who's encouraging us to just try and accept what has happened. We scream to them that this is not fair. And so I thought to myself, if you disapprove of a public display of grief, this is not the video for you. I will obviously do my best not to cry. I cannot guarantee that because I don't want to stop myself from feeling the pain that I'm feeling. But obviously for filming purposes, I'm not going to cry because otherwise you won't understand what I'm saying. And apart from that, my voice when I cry is just absolutely ugly. So that's not going to happen. I will spare you that. But if you have lost a fur baby in the last few months, in the last year, or even 2 years, 3 years, but it's still really, really painful for you, I think that then you might want to watch this video because I will give you a few recommendations on decks that you can use in order to help you. But as I said, I will also talk about a couple of rituals that I'm doing, and let's start with that. So as you can see here, I've got this tiny jar that contains a clip of her fur, and I thought that that was absolutely lovely. And the fact that now it's sealed like this, maybe it will also preserve her scent. I don't know that. But I really love that I can see her fur because she had really long fur in winter. As a matter of fact, when I was taking a photo through Google app, it was identifying her as a Maine Coon. She wasn't a Maine Coon. But I think it's very, very lovely to have something like this. And then, as you can see, there is a paw print. This has been done by the vet that came over with the injection. And they also gave me this candle. And this candle has not been extinguished since yesterday when I light this candle when she passed on. And it's still here with me. And I like to think that as long as this candle is still going, I can still feel that she's still with me. There is a moon because the moon is always associated to cats. I love my rose quartz and I got a few of them as you can see here because the rose quartz is basically supposed to protect your heart, and this is definitely something that I'm doing for myself but also for her. Lavender for purification and a desiccated rose for purity. I also have another candle here. This is a scented candle with roses. I never used scented candles before because it could be toxic for cats. So now I still have another cat, but he's not in this room and I actually closed the door. So I'm pretty sure that he's going to be safe. A seashell, because when we used to live by the sea, she loved going outside when it was windy and she would smell the salty air. And she looked like Marilyn Monroe in the wind. She just loved it so much. Her fur swept by the wind. She was just closing her eyes and sniffing. And it was the most courageous sight of a cat I've ever seen. And then there's a small combination of herbs called the crossroads with barley, red peppercorns, juniper berry, and cypress. And these are actually for me because this is a crossroad moment for me. We have a lot of decisions to take, and it is very important that I feel supported while taking this decision. There is a desiccated butterfly wing, ethically sourced, preserved, because obviously she will need wings now to cross the Rainbow Bridge. And there's the doTERRA Past Tense Relaxation Blend, which is actually a present for one of my members. Thank you, Tash. This is for me as well because crying gives me a headache. So I have a headache and this is actually really helpful. And then I have another perfume, which is actually one that was sent to me together with the Solara Occulto Meliora, and I really like this one. So it's a bit of a blend. And then last but not least, I have this small cup of water. I don't know if you can see there is water inside. And this is a ritual that I'm doing. It is something very important to me because water has always been representing the ebbs and flows of life and the fluidity of life itself, and the fact that we are here and we don't know for how long. And it's not just concerning us, it's concerning everyone around us, everyone we love. And it's something that is bringing me back to the power of tears, for example, and the fact that water gives life. We are made of water. There's no two ways around that. So it's something that I like to do, putting my fingers in water. So now let's have a look at the decks. Apologies for the really long intro. There's also going to be a custom spread that I'm going to show you at the end, and I'm going to pull the cards for myself. So let's start. There's a couple of new decks that I actually bought just for that. I don't know where to start. So let's start with the new deck. So this one really, I had the impression that I really felt like I wanted this deck. I only had a couple of cards to view before buying it. This is the Rose Pocket Oracle by Rebecca Campbell. The artwork is by Katie Louise, and this is a tin can edition by Hay House. There is also a full size, by the way, Oracle for this deck. But I just, I don't know, I feel like this 2025 is going to be the year of pocket or tin can or mini decks for me, because it just really helps when it comes to the saving space. I hope it's not too difficult to open. Okay, yeah, that's fine, because I had another deck from Hay House in a tin and it was very hard to open. So this one comes with a guidebook, obviously. But the reason why I got this deck, I feel like it was really calling to me when I saw a few cards, and I'm actually really happy that I got it. So it's a very calm deck. After the rain, silver lining, hope, it's over, mercy. You can see it immediately. You can see it immediately. This is definitely going to be an excellent deck when you want that kind of support. I chosen the title for this video as decks for the Rainbow Bridge because I really believe that tarot can do a lot of things, and one of the things that tarot can do is to help us when we are facing these kind of transitions, whether it's our own transition or there is the transition of someone we love. And so obviously we're going to see decks that are very gentle, very kind, very supportive, also very grounding, very balanced. Absolutely love this deck. All of the messages on the card, the images are very kind, very soft as well. Whispers of the Earth, creativity, inspiration, artist, ideas, the wild rose, do it your way, free yourself, unique. So I'm really happy about this deck, and you know, the fact that it's a mini deck, it's also making it very reasonable in price. And so I am stoked to be able to work with it soon. Another deck that I felt like I really needed is this one here. It's called the Great Eastern Oracle by Razuli, Empowering Guidance of the Mystics from Ancient to Modern Times. And I also had the possibility to have a look at a few of these cards. And I thought that it was really calling to me. I thought that it was the kind of deck that I want to use at times like this. Even though not all of the cards may be resonating in that specific way. But you don't need all of the cards to be about grieving for a deck to succeed in helping you out when you are. And so I'm very, very hopeful for this deck. So it's a Blue Angel release, and I don't think it's a new deck. I've actually seen it on the shelves for quite a while. It does come with the usual guidebook, as all, I believe all Blue Angel decks do. And can't wait to have a proper look at the images, but it looks really nice. It's got a bit of a quote as well, which I always appreciate, and a mantra. So it's got an expression, a reflection, and a mantra at the end for each and every card, which is always helpful, and a quote. So let's have a look at the deck, because I don't specifically know this. I haven't done a lot of research before deciding to buy it or not, but I do believe that there's a few cards that are going to be helpful. Alchemy of friendship, radiate love and attract affection. Assurance in the self, you're better than you realize. Balance your mind, blow away the burnt harvest. bask in silence. As you can see, it is be positive in life. Breath of the divine, celebrate your uniqueness. It does have very sympathetic vibes, very celestial vibes in a way. It does remind me a little bit of the Devas of Creation by Silla Conway. Ironically, I had to let go of the Devas because it just wasn't working for me anymore. Silla Conway's decks are incredibly powerful, but I find that I burn them in the sense that when I use them, I go through them, I use them almost to the point of being obsessed. And then it just helps me transition or go through something very difficult. And when they actually fulfill their purpose, I don't tend to reach for them anymore. And so I know that they'll be helpful, very helpful to somebody else. And so that's why I let them go. Shift your perception, remove the judgment glasses. That's amazing. Sweet doing nothing, which is something that I'm definitely planning to do for the next couple of days. Time to rekindle, take the wheel in your hand, transcend your ego, lift the veil from the real you, turn frustration to success. Heroes are conquerors of pain. Wow. Yeah, perhaps not immediately after something like this, but yeah, we all need to conquer our pain. There is something that is extremely important to understand, that we can have entirely different processes of grieving, but the most important thing is that we need to understand that if we do not turn grieving into something positive for us, we are going to be stuck in there forever, and we're going to perish. We're going to wilt away. We're going to waste away. I have not been sleeping well for the last 6 weeks. I was telling a friend of mine that I was just down to eating one sandwich every day, just a sandwich. And then I even stopped bothering making myself a sandwich, and I just started eating chips. And obviously now I have all sorts of physical problems related to that, because that is absolutely not healthy. But that was the one thing that I needed to do right then. And there is something very important that I wanted to understand. When we go through grief, we should listen to advice from others, but we should always ultimately do whatever we think and we feel is best for us, because there's no two ways of grieving. Then this next deck is actually a deck that I highly recommend. It is a mass market deck, but if you have been grieving the loss of someone, and also furbaby, this is a fantastic deck. It's called the Grief Deck, Rituals, Meditations, and Tools for Moving Through Loss. It is mass market. It was very affordable. This is published by Princeton Architectural Press, which is not necessarily something that we associate with tarot. And this is not even an oracle deck. It is literally a ritual kind of deck. So a set of cards with a number of prompts for meditation and rituals and stuff like that. And I had a PDF version of this, not the deck, but a book that is related to this. And that's what I based my tarot roadmap for processing grief and loss. All of the material that I've done was based on that, and other books, obviously. But I'm happy that I reached out for this, because it really feels like the rituals and what is written on the cards is incredibly helpful. So as you can see, it is a deck that has a front and a back. So obviously we got a message, sorry, a drawing or an image at the front, and then we've got a message at the back. In some cases, I would say, well, and it also tells you who the prompt is from and the artwork is from. In some cases, it's just a reflection. So this artist, Manon Banta, says, after my mother died, I had the urge to plant something, to watch something grow. It felt good to sink my hands into the earth, to feel the soil sift through my fingers. It felt tangible. Plant a tree, a flower, a cactus, whatever kind of plant you are drawn to, in memory of your loved one. As you care for it, you are reminded that everything has its season. As you can see, it's extremely compassionate, extremely kind. There's also, a bit of charts. Inhale, hold, this the Qigong, or the art of breathing. And that's going to be very important as well. This one is about people grieve differently, and that is also very, very important. When you want to exercise compassion, you also need to understand that not everyone is the same. And what is left behind, that is something that really breaks my heart, because obviously they've told me to leave Missy's football out for her brother, not to get too straight to the shock of not being with her, because they've been together for 15 years. We got them at the same time, and so he's not used to live without her, especially when it comes to food times. He's not used to check in on her and what she's eating and if she's there. And so that is something that, is very painful, obviously very painful. Hold yourself in grief. And I'm not going to go through all of the cards. Obviously, this is not meant to be an oracle deck, as I was saying, but these are prompts with, an associated image, which is very, very important. And I would definitely go through all of them, and I will definitely choose 1 or 2 rituals to perform, also together with my husband, because he is grieving in his own way. And he is still worthy, even if breathing is all you could do today. That's amazing. That was me this morning. I just could not get out of bed. And then, thankfully though, because having another cat, and I have to feed him and everything, and I was just like, okay, no, I know you're not, I'm not gonna ignore my other cat. I know that he's there, and I know that he's grieving in his own way as well. And so I will be there for him because he needs me, and also because I need him, because obviously he is purring. I love this, by the way. It's the front of the box. Really beautiful drawing. Let me just read what it says. Gathering of stones, a walking meditation. Amazing. Take a quiet walk to an outdoor place you enjoy, such as a park, beach, or woods. As you walk, pick up any small stones that catch your eye. Stop long enough to examine each stone as you find it and give it a name based on what you are carrying right now. For example, name each stone after qualities of the individuals whose loss you are grieving. Name that after feelings or beliefs you hold about yourself right now, good or bad. If a relationship is ending, assign each stone a memory or quality of that relationship. Carry these stones with you when you arrive at your destination. Arrange the stones into a design. Spend time sketching what you made, or write a poem or a kind note to yourself on a scrap of paper. Leave it behind with your stones, with the intention that some other person who needs them might also read your words. This is absolutely beautiful. It's by Randy Beck of Sina. Absolutely beautiful. So as you can see, there's a number of cards that can really help. And I highly recommend this deck. It's very affordable. I believe it was only $29.99 Australian dollars, which is about probably 18 US dollars, which is very affordable. 18, 19. And so I don't know whether it's available. It was available from me on Amazon Australia, but I believe that you can still find it on a different retailer. This reminds me a lot of the Death Doula. It reminds me, the Death Doula Oracle may have a very similar kind of card. In any case, it does present a very similar kind of stacking method of photography. It's a bit of a mixed media kind of deck. Obviously, as we can see, it is painting, it's photography, it's graphics. So is it grief or depression? Okay, so as I said, very beautiful deck, very helpful deck. I would definitely work with it very soon. And then I wanted to show you another couple of decks that are my go-to decks for the Rainbow Bridge. And so one of them is one of the most compassionate decks that I've got in my collection, and it's the Guardian Angel Tarot. This is the older edition where the name Doreen Version still appeared on the card and Radley Valentine. I know that newer version of this deck only have the Radley Valentine name. It is indeed the same deck. I don't believe that there are substantial differences. It might not come gilded. This one does. I don't know. But in any case, the important thing is that this is indeed an incredibly compassionate deck. It is a very positive deck. It is one of those decks that take on the silver lining on each and every card of the tarot, including the worst cards, whether it's the Three of Swords, or the Five of Swords, or the Ten of Swords, or even the Tower. So it is one of those decks that you kind of need at a time like this, because you don't need to be reminded that life is full of pain, because you're going through some, and that's enough for you at the moment. And maybe one day you'll get over it, and then another deck will come through and they will remind you that there is pain out there. But for now, you don't need to be reminded. So it is one of those decks that instead gives you a hug, and it tells you that even though you are going through pain, there is also light out there for you, and it's waiting for you, and it will be there, and it will still be waiting for you for as long as you want and as long as you will be ready to get out. So that is an amazing deck that I highly recommend, although this is out of print. But I found that it's rather easy to find it on a Facebook group, or, on eBay or something like that. You may still be able to find it. Another deck that is unfortunately also out of print is the Amber Aurora Tarot. This is the Awaken edition by Jamie Richardson. And ironically, Jamie has made a choice which is very similar to the choice of the Ring Virtue. So she's also turned her back on tarot because she has decided that it's not something that is expressing what she believes in anymore. And that is absolutely fine. We all have the right to do so. It is very it's a shame for us, because I personally absolutely love this deck, and I would have loved for the world to have the possibility to have more of this. Unfortunately, there were only two versions, the Awakening edition and the Standard edition, I believe. And there won't be any for the foreseeable future unless Jamie changes his mind, which is always possible, but I don't think she will. So it's out of print, unfortunately, very hard to find. But this is one of the decks that I always turn to whenever I am going through grief, because it is a kind deck. It is a hug deck. It's one of those decks that really supports you, sometimes really literally picks you up and goes down the road for you, with you in its arms. And so it's something that I completely appreciate, and I am very thankful for. And it's also very beautiful. Other than that, other than the symbols and the vibes and the energy of the deck, I actually find it very, very beautiful, very aesthetically very pleasing. It's the kind of colors that I really like. Soft pastel colors like this. And then there's another couple of decks, and one is very specific. Obviously, my Rainbow Bridge for me is looking at my cat going over it. But I know that many of you have lost a dog, or you have lost another fur baby, or you have lost someone you love. And obviously, this one is the Tower of the Pagan Cat. So if you have lost a dog, this probably means nothing to you. It means a lot to me, because there's both my cats in this deck, my Chicho and my Missy. Chicho, this is Chicho, 1000%. If you take a photo from his back, this is my cat. It's also really chunky. Now, it's not fat, it's not unhealthy, but it is 8 kilos because he's a really big boy. Like, he's very large. He's a massively large cat. He's the size of a, not even a small dog, is a good boy. And this is the other cat reminds me of. And this is Missy, 100%. This is her. This is truly her. So in winter, she will literally bulk up like that. She would go with so much fur that She was not the best groomer of herself, and so sometimes she would develop dreadlocks, when the fur gets all tangled up. And so I had to patiently go with the comb and just try and brush it out without hurting her, without pulling her fur. And she would not be extremely helpful because she hated that. And so sometimes I would have to chop it off with a scissor, but it will regrow fast, even faster. And so, but this is my Missy for sure. And then we got obviously we got a lot of cats here, as you can see. So that's why I believe that using a deck like this, it's really helpful because it really shows cats being cats. I think we are being flooded by cat-themed decks, and the majority of them, I have to say, I do not like. Probably because the majority of them actually show cats in a human dress, in human clothing, which is something that really disturbs me. I'm not being picky, it's just something that I just don't vibe with. So I do not have one of those. And in other types of decks, you will still see cats doing something a human would do, standing erect and not being a cat. I like this one because I feel that they are incredibly expressful, but at the same time, they're being cats. Cats are being cats in this deck, and so I really appreciate that. And even though I'm the first one to say that my cat Missy did not think she was a cat, she was not displaying the typical behavior of a cat. She would let me scratch her belly, which is very unusual for a cat. She would not, knock out things like cats would do. She was very vocal all the time. And she would actually take on dogs. She was really feisty, even though she was tiny. When she was healthy, she was still 4 kilos, so she wasn't a huge cat. But in any case, this is the deck that I'm going to use later also for this custom spread that I was talking to you about. And last but not least, and this is a choice that I leave it to you because honestly, this is a very sad kind of deck. And I know that some of us, as I said before, we are sad already. Do we really need a deck that is going to make us even more sad? Do we really need a prompt that is going to make us cry when we just finished cry 5 minutes ago? I understand that, but we do not grieve in the same way. And some of us may actually find it really hard to cry, to weep. Sometimes we feel numb because we're exhausted, especially when we're going through a grief that derives from someone having been sick for a while. I wanted you to know if that's the case and if you feel relief and solace, it's completely normal and natural. It is nothing to be ashamed about. It is nothing you should consider yourself, not normal because it is absolutely fine. It is absolutely fine. When my mom passed away after 14 years of debilitating illness, both my dad and I actually were relieved because, first of all, because we knew that she was not in pain anymore, and that was the most important thing, but also because it had been absolutely devastating for us. And 14 years of an illness, a devastating illness, I can assure you, is a long time. And so when the time comes to say goodbye, you are devastated, but at the same time, you feel the kindness of the detachment and the fact that you're leaving behind not the good things, but you're leaving behind the bad things. And so I don't know, I feel that sometimes you also need a deck like this, that from the below to the above. There's also another deck that I think has been funding on Kickstarter. It was specifically about grief. When I wanted to back that deck, but I had a look at it and it was definitely too strong for me. And I felt like it was not the right time for me to get it. And so when, if it comes available, if someone is rehoming their copy, then I might actually reach out for it. But for now, I felt like I didn't need it. And now let's come to the spread that I want to share with all of you. So it is this spread here. As you can see, it's not a spread that has prompt per se. It is a spread that says the 3 things that I believe that you should always say to someone who's passing. I love you, because one thing that people who lost someone regrets is not saying I love you enough. And I was reading in a forum for a person going through grief a few years ago, one of the most common questions that people would ask themselves, and they will literally rack their brain trying and understand whether the answer is yes or no to this question. Have I told you enough that I love you? Because one thing is knowing how much we love someone who's passing, but have we told them? And have we told them enough for them to understand how much we love them? And so the first prompt is I love you. And the second prompt is I'm sorry, because no matter what, when you lose someone, you will feel guilty. Trust me, I've been through that a number of times. You will feel guilty. It is 99% of the time, it's an irrational guilt. It's a guilt that tries and feeds off any tiny detail in order to be able to still keep it afloat. It's a guilt that actually is the last thing that we believe that connects us to the person or the fur baby that we lost. Because nothing else is left, nothing physical at least, that we feel that if we still feel guilty, we probably still have control over this loss. It's very human. As I said, it's very irrational, but it's very human. It is the only thing we have left. And so I'm sorry is very cathartic for whatever you think you've done wrong. And I'm sure that none of us have done anything actually wrong. But even if we did, we are human beings. And so saying I'm sorry is extremely cathartic. And then the third prompt is also saying I forgive you. Because sometimes we have things to forgive to others. There's no two ways around that. Sometimes we're the one making mistakes. Sometimes they're the one making mistakes towards us. And so they also need to hear it as well. They need to hear that we forgive them, that it's okay, that we love them no matter what, and they love us back no matter what. And then the last prompt is obviously a message for me. So I'm going to use this deck. So let me just shuffle for now. Okay, so let's just pick 4 cards. You can also use an oracle card. You don't necessarily have to use a tarot deck. I mean, this is the one that I want to use because it does remind me of my cats, but you do you. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And let's have a look at what we've got. Let's just take a peek at what we got here. So we got the 7 of Pentacles. The road is long. The road to recovery is long. I know that. I know that. And so 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's see if they fit in the frame. They should. Maybe I can even zoom in just a touch to see them better. So the I love you message is the will. Obviously, I do expect this because there's always ups and downs in life. There's something that we need to understand is that obviously there's been good times and there's been bad times. There's been moments in which I did not feel like saying I love you to her, simply because she was driving me insane. Because as I said at the beginning, she was a difficult cat because she was a stray. She had not been trained, let's say, by her mom or by siblings, and she didn't know how to be a cat, and she never learned how to use the kitty litter, for example. I had to go on 15 years cleaning around the house whenever she was going, or cleaning also her, because she wouldn't even really know how to groom herself properly. And so I have to be honest with you, I wasn't always loving and caring. Sometimes I was quite upset. Sometimes I was telling her off. And I remember a number of times saying, you're a bad cat. But for any one time that I was saying you're a bad cat, there were at least 100 times in which I was saying you're a good girl. And so that is, yes, it's a wheel of fortune, and what goes up must come down, and vice versa. But I think it was staying up most of the time. And so for the I'm sorry message, that's the Eight of Cups. That's clearly the Eight of Cups in telling me that I have to let go of that. Yes, it was painful moments in which I was making mistakes with her. It was painful to know that I wasn't doing the right thing. It was painful to know and to think nowadays, even, that I should have taken to a different vet, and maybe I should have done a different test, and maybe I should have. I don't even know, because honestly, I've been racking my brains for so many hours that I could write a dissertation on any kind of illnesses, viral, fungal, bacterial, that can cause hepatotoxicity. I could write a dissertation on ALT levels, on bilirubin, and all these sorts of things. I need to accept that that was broken. That research, what we've done, unfortunately, it led to nothing. Unfortunately, it didn't cure her. So I have to turn my back to that, because the more I dwell on that, on the feelings that I should have done this, I should have done that, I should probably just, you know, just accept it and move on. And on the I forgive you card, we got the the Ace of Swords. So the Ace of Swords is very typical of me. I am an airy person, obviously an air sign through and through. The Ace of Swords is about the mind, and it's about thinking, and it's about projects and forgiving. I, of course, I forgive. I mean, there's no way that I wouldn't say that. But it's also important to understand that I need to forgive her by looking through everything that we've done together in the last 15 years, and just decide to set away not just the mistakes that I made towards her, but also the mistakes that she made towards me. And so just shift my mind, shift my thoughts onto something different, something other than that, because that only brings up pain. And there is something to be said about the suit of sword and the suit of air. It is something that people probably think that being always thinking, being always in our minds, means that we're not in our heart. We don't find ourselves in our hearts. But that is not true. There is a lot of heart, there is a lot of feelings in our thoughts as well. As a matter of fact, for me as a person, my mind and my heart are seldom apart. Everything that I think comes from my heart, and vice versa. So I really like there is one tarot deck, I think it's called Wake Me Up Tarot, but I'm not entirely sure. And it's sold on Tavada. And I'm really looking into buying it only because of one card, and it's the Queen of Swords. And it actually shows the Queen of Swords in the usual way, of course. It's a very modern tarot deck. But there's also a cup in the card. And I thought to myself, that is a bit odd, but it's a cup. And I really like it because it points to the fact that the Queen of Swords is not a cold person, as many people might think. It's just someone who had to go through a lot, and now they decided that they choose compassion, and it's a choice because they have been through a lot, and so they choose to be like that. And so this is a message for me. And we got the Three of Wands, which is really beautiful. Obviously, I need to, of course, you can go, sweetheart, because obviously you need to go on a new adventure now, and it's absolutely fine. And I will, I will miss you forever, of course. But it is a good card for you because you're expanding your horizon, you're seeking new adventures in your life, and it's totally fine. Okay, so this spread, obviously, if you want to use it, I will make it available in the comments below if you want to download it and print it out. But in any case, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.